On today's episode, Mike and Ryan brewed themed beers to celebrate the anniversary of The Legend of Zelda and shared with some friends. Cheers. And we are back. And with us, we have a few people. We have with us Shane, Celeste, and David. And you may know them from another Zelda podcast. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Hello.
So for those who don't listen to another Zelda podcast, which for shame on you.
Shame. If you made it this far in the episode,
yeah, about to say.
you should probably check the podcast out.
So let's start with, we call him the Overlord. Let's start with David.
Oh my goodness.
David, let's hear about you.
Yeah, just give like unsuspecting listeners just an idea of what another Zelda podcast does.
Certainly, because I do know that our analytics show that some people have found Brewthers-In-Law organically. Not everyone has come over from another Zelda podcast. There's a lot of actual home brewers that have found the show, which is really, really exciting. So I'm David Geisler. I'm the producer. It's friends. Is that what you just said?
No, parents.
Organically.
Hey, sometimes that's how it has to start. That's how you got to start in the beginning. You just got to get all your friends and family to listen. But anyway, I'm one of the hosts and the producer of Another Zelda podcast, and we have above Another Zelda podcast is a podcast that we started back in 2017. We're in our third season. And it's a show where we talk just kind of about anything about Zelda, all things Zelda. Sometimes it's a vertical slice about all the forest dungeons. Sometimes it's a top 10 list. Sometimes it's a literal review episode, and we absolutely have a blast. And here's the thing, Celeste and Shane. So about 2 years ago, through the powers of the internet, I met Celeste, and then shortly thereafter, I met Shane, and they started blogging for us. And I've been lucky enough to record episodes, another Zelda podcast episodes with each of them now. And then just about a half a year after that, a Mallory Kuhn and a Ryan Kuhn, but I didn't know it at first because I think your Twitter handle was different, started messaging in season 2, another Zelda podcast. This gentleman's first name is Rambo. I'm not sure what that's all about.
It's fraternity related. Don't worry about that.
Well, so that is how Another Zelda podcast met Mallory and Ryan Kuhn of Brewthers-In-Law here. And fast forward about a year, Ryan, you and your wife Mallory have been on Another Zelda podcast a few times. It's been an absolute treat and pleasure to have you guys on this season. I still have not met you in person.
One day.
Someday.
So weird.
We'll take you out for a nice dinner when you finally come to Michigan.
That sounds good. It'll hopefully in half a year from now, that'll be the case. But anyway, so that's what the podcast is about. And then Ryan, you kind of came to me and said, "Hey, I have an idea for a podcast. I think I have this brother-in-law, and we both like to talk about home brewing." And that's when we decided to. So there's this other company called 65 Media. That's kind of the umbrella company to Another Zelda podcast.
The Overlord, yes.
We create a couple other shows, one of which is Brewthers-In-Law. So this kind of for you two, Mike and Ryan, to invite us to your season finale of season 1. Congratulations on a full season, by the way.
Thank you. Woot.
Very cool. Is an absolute treat because what's really fun about this in so many ways, Ryan and Shane and Celeste, like we've all interfaced for blog reasons for a different podcast. And now we are here in this context. And I think that's wonderful. Also, by the way, when we first started Another Zelda podcast, Ryan and Mike, my only goal was to have every episode have more listeners and viewers than the previous. Just that first season, it's like just have growth. That just as long as there's more every time. And I'm very, very proud to say that Brewthers-In-Law has taken the same path. And I just really want to congratulate you guys on that. It's really nice.
Clap test.
Yeah, I think you're doing some wonderful work over here, and I'm really proud to be a producer of this show. So anyway, that's everything I have to say.
All right, that's the pitch. I will say that Ryan talked up AZP a little bit earlier on. He turned me on to it. I'm also a huge fan.
Yeah.
If you're into games, if you happen to find this episode through an interest in Zelda and not through beer, and you haven't discovered AZP, I tried quite a few Zelda podcasts and didn't really find anything. And that was why I asked Ryan about it in the first place.
Yeah.
I was very pleased that this one finally sort of fit the bill. So
Well, do you know what's fun about that, Mike, if I may, is that Ryan and I have talked about Zelda here and there for AZP meetings, but you and I have we've only been on production meetings for this show. And I hope that towards the end of this episode, I understand, I saw the show notes have been, I think we're going to be talking about Zelda a little. And I just can't wait to basically learn about your Zelda fandom as well,
Oh yeah. It'll be on display. Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Shane, Celeste, did you guys have anything you wanted to add to that?
Good.
Celeste.
You want to go first?
Sure.
Shane,
Hi,
go.
I'm Shane Kelley. I am a writer and also participate in the podcast of Another Zelda podcast. And I like beer. I'm from Wisconsin, so it's
What else is there?
What
do
else
up
is there to know?
We're all from the Midwest, man. There's only one way to get
Yeah.
to
Hold on,
Midwest
there's
winter.
one who's not, and she's next.
No, sorry, I meant like you and me and Shane.
Oh yeah. Well,
I
David
guess
is too. Dave's
counts, yeah,
Chicago.
Chicago counts, yeah.
And when we started AZP, I was Milwaukee.
Oh yeah.
Celeste is
Yeah.
possibly starting to learn what Michigan winters are like.
The Midwest
If,
winters.
I don't know if you got anything like what Texas got smashed with last week. but-
Northern Louisiana did. My aunt and uncle live in Shreveport, which is about 5 hours from where I live, and they were without running water for about a week.
Yeah,
And I know some people were kind of making fun of those people, but if you don't have to deal with this except once in a lifetime, you're not equipped. I mean, that would be
No.
like a
Well,
hurricane going
yeah,
to
and
Michigan. And
it's not the people's
Fog.
fault if like the
Yeah.
state infrastructure can't handle the snow. Like, if you lose power, no one likes to lose power, or like not have running water or whatever.
no, and my heart goes out to those people because I've
Hmm.
been through hurricanes, and I think we all just need to be kind to one another because Mother Nature is something we're all going to face at some point. That's my
Yeah.
She'll
soapbox.
get you. She'll get you.
I'm Celeste, by the way.
Yes. Hi, Celeste.
hello.
Thanks for having me. I'm with AZP. I am with Boss Rush Games. I'm not from the Midwest, unfortunately. I do apologize. I don't feel like my don't you know
Don't apologize.
up to par.
Oh, she's pretty good at that, don't you know, though?
Don't you know?
Don't
She pretty much got that there.
Yeah, are you sure you don't border Canada?
All right, so we're gonna do a quick first sip. We already did one in our first half, but we're gonna do one with you guys. And I know the answers to most of these questions, but I'm gonna ask anyways. So we got this into kind of a 4-parter, but there'll be really quick
It's a
answers.
2x2
Yes.
matrix of questions.
Okay.
So the first section is what it was your first Zelda game. So I'll start and I'll just say mine first was Link to the Past. I don't go quite that far back with the originals, but that was my first game.
Right.
Mike, what about you?
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time. So about that same.
Let's just go. Let's go clockwise. So Dave, Celeste, and then Shane. Clockwise.
Sounds
on the
good.
screen. On the
I've
screen.
said it before on the show, and Link's Awakening was my. I had I'd played the original Legend of Zelda once or twice, renting it as a kid, but I wasn't paying attention, so I don't count that. But my first real Zelda game was Link's Awakening years after it had already come out. I received it as a
Amazing.
gift, and I was like,
great.
what is this Zelda thing? I can't wait to learn. And it was
What is a Zelda?
I was
Oh,
hooked. And so I went from Link's Awakening to Ocarina, and then I kind of dug back around. But anyway,
Celeste?
A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo a few years after it had come out. I used to
Yes, I
rent
know.
it.
Shane.
Shane?
Unfortunately, Link's Adventure. So on the NES,
Wow. And you stuck with it.
Oh,
You stayed
Adventure of
around.
Link.
I was
Oof.
5, and
And 5 doing it.
I was
so would've
5. I was
put that through the window.
traumatized, and fortunately, from there, it's been better. So I'll go
Okay.
back eventually, but right
You
now
know-
I have no interest. The next one I have to beat is Majora's Mask, and I'm really
Oh.
hoping that we, so
Do it.
exactly.
All right. So then switching gears. Which one do you want to go to beer? Or do you want to stay?
You
on
do beer.
Zelda?
I'll do beer. You do beer. I'll do Zelda.
Okay.
That way.
So now we're gonna stick with the first thing. What is the first beer you ever had? Mine was a Corona, and I hated it, and I still don't like Corona.
Mine was Guinness.
Dave.
I honestly, I think it was Rolling Rock, and it was at a.
Good one.
That is a good one.
I remember specifically I was of age but young, and I think I had like 3. And by the time I had 3, I remember telling my friends, the room's moving slowly. The room's moving slowly. What is this feeling?
Alcohol. Celeste,
Oh
what
my
about
gosh.
Oh my gosh. I'm not really a big beer drinker, but I think it was maybe a Beta Amber or Shiner Bock.
you? Oh yeah, she's down there. So
That
you-
is a thoroughly New Orleansy answer. A Beta Amber's a great beer.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I drank a lot of that when we were down. I've been.
I had a couple
I've been
when I
to
was
New
down
Orleans
there.
twice for work trips. It's an awesome city, and I know you're not like quite New Orleans, but yeah,
All right, Shane.
good answer.
I believe it was a Budweiser Select. So it wasn't a Budweiser, a Bud Light,
Yeah.
Miller Light. So kind of happy about that.
All right. So I'm gonna bring it back to Zelda. What is your favorite
Well, here
Zelda game?
for sake of speed, let's combine them. Your
Okay.
favorite Zelda game and your favorite beer. So it's the other half of the 2x2.
Yes.
So Ryan, go first.
So my favorite Zelda would probably still be Ocarina of Time. It's or not still be, but it will be Ocarina of Time. I love the game. It was my first video game love, actually. And then favorite beer is actually still Guinness.
Still Guinness.
I love Guinness.
Your first love, your last love.
Yes, my only love.
All right. Breath of the Wild and Bell's Oberon.
Yeah, you do love Oberon.
Yep. Easy. Dave?
I've had a lot of favorite Zelda games over the years, but right now, if I'm including the entire catalog, it is Breath of the Wild for me, even though I love other Zelda games for other reasons too. But as you know, holistically, it's Breath of the Wild for sure.
Mhm.
My favorite beer, I don't, I can't say that I have an exact favorite beer. I
First
really
thing that
like.
comes to mind then.
Well, what I mean is, whenever I do go to beer bars, I really enjoy tasting around and learning what my palate is and
Okay.
trying.
Oh, good.
I never
Great.
say no to a beer. I'm really into always going for different things. I mean, if you're just out with friends, I kind of hit the stereotype and I go for like an IPA on tap a little bit, but otherwise, I really do like nitrous injected beers as well. I like that kind of
Nice.
creaminess.
Nice.
So we're gonna round
We're
that
gonna
up
round
to
up to
Guinness.
Guinness. There we go. We're gonna turn that to straight Guinness.
All right. Celeste?
I'd have to say Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game. This is really hard. It's like picking your favorite child or
I
cat.
know.
And I would say not your father's root beer because I like sweet drinks.
Nice.
Nice. I got.
All right.
I'll count it.
Is that malt? Is that malt still technically?
That's a malt beer. I think it's malt
Yeah.
beverage.
Yes.
I was gonna say
I'll allow it. As
My
Senior
favorite
King
beer
would
is
say.
Zima.
That's fine.
Oh God,
Hey, you know what?
Zima.
Hey,
Ooh.
this is a quick fire section. We're not here to judge or argue semantics, so you
Yes.
can say whatever you want. So
If
Shane,
you want to say
Love
Zima,
it.
go for it.
round us out here.
So Ocarina of Time
Okay.
is down my favorite Zelda, and I'm gonna have 2 of them. I think. So my sipping beer is Dragon's Milk.
Yep.
Really like it. I can drink
You
maybe
can only sip dragon.
You can only sip. Yeah.
on good nights. Very good. The other one that just is also common, I think, is Bud Light Platinum. I really like the Platinum. So
That's for a different kind of night than Dragon's
Yeah.
Milk.
that's my beer. Long night, cheap, and it's 6%. So it's
It'll do
They
it.
get you.
one deal.
All right. Well, if you guys would do me a favor, so in addition to the 2 bottles of beer that we sent to the AZP crew, they also got a special small 3rd bottle of beer.
Not beer.
Oh, excuse me. They got a special small 3rd bottle of some mystery liquid. And if you guys would go ahead and pull that out now, please. Ryan is going to tell you a little bit about it, and I think we'll all pour some out to enjoy
So
live on the air.
this was one of my first mead creations, actually. So
Oh,
it is an elderflower fig mead.
Elderberry fig.
So elderberry.
It's
Correct.
your own mead. Get it
It
right.
is. I've had a few beers. Leave me alone.
Whoa, it's
But
potent.
it was one of the first
Wanna show 'em the
creations I
label?
made. I'll get there.
Okay.
That I made for mead. And I decided to name it the Great Deku Mead. And Mike
Oh,
has made. See if I can zoom in here a little bit.
Oh,
label.
great Deku mead. Oh, it's
that.
got the tree on there and Link is on there.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Oh
So
my gosh, love it.
this exact stuff that you have actually too, which is from the same bottle, is a year and a half old.
No,
No.
before you guys like pour it into a glass or anything, I will say Ryan gifted me a whole bottle of this, and I sort of milked it for like a year or longer, and it just got better and better as it went. So like, feel free to just pour a little bit of it. I know you didn't have a ton, but like, feel free to like keep half of it and just let it sit for like 6 months or whatever. It only gets better as it
Yes.
goes.
Shane and I have the same idea. Okay, is there anything illegal that if I would get drug tested, I'm going to lose my job?
No, you're fine. It's just alcohol.
Okay.
Mead is literally honey wine. So
Yeah, cool. I saw that you guys brought
I-
out some rocks glasses there, and I just happened to on the desk here have my AZP glass that you guys got me, so I'm going to use that to drink the mead.
Cheers, Ryan.
Cheers.
Oh my
Cheers,
goodness.
everybody.
That is good. Thank you.
Cheers. This is really good. I might be a mead girl.
There you go.
Mead, you know, if
Yeah.
you like sweet drinks, actually, I mean, mead
Mead is there for you.
can
It's
be
like
the way
a
to
it's like a
go, yeah.
Renaissance fair staple too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Serious.
it's very I mean, I don't think you've at time of recording edited our mead episode yet, but you'll see it and it will have released by now. But Ryan discussed it a little bit in that episode. It is a really super ancient drink.
Yes.
Love it.
But yeah,
I think it's like 2,000 years old, 200
So,
years old. That's like
you
super,
know,
super.
Not having much of a palate for this stuff. It's at first when I smelled it, I was like, oh, it kind of smells like a jam or a jelly, which makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. But then when you drink it, that sweetness doesn't really, it doesn't taste like jelly. It has a bit, it almost has like a little bit of heat in the throat here a little bit, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
And
not.
That's the alcohol.
Yeah.
It is probably about 15% alcohol. So
Yeah.
it's got a
Oh.
decent kick to it. So
not
This-
nowhere near liquor, but something closer to like wine.
yes.
So this will
Yeah.
put hair on my chest.
Or on your knuckles. I don't know, your toes somewhere. Hair will grow somewhere.
Where do Gorons get hair?
I don't know,
I
everywhere.
think on their knuckles.
No
probably.
side effects on
I
here.
feel like
Yeah,
it's
so yeah, it's funny actually, like when my wife and I, Haley and I, drank the bottle that Ryan got us another bottle for just
now,
for
actually.
the mead episode.
Yeah, we
Just
did
he
the
was
mead
just being
episode.
nice and gave me sent me home with a bottle of it, and I really get the fig flavor, and she really got the elderberry flavor.
Mhm.
So I really do think it's a cool mead, the way those two kind of unique fruits work together.
And fun
Um,
fact, it's not easy to get out of carpet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That rich purple color, it's hard to get out.
wow, Ryan,
was,
it's so weird that you know that, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In unrelated news, there was a period of time when Ryan wasn't allowed to brew mead for a while.
No, wasn't allowed to brew at all.
I heard that story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy that. Like I said, feel free to, if you want to drink it all now, go ahead. You know, I know he didn't send you a huge bottle, but do know that if you want to leave half of it and come back to it in, a while, it's only going to get better. But I want to
I poured out half here, but real quick, Ryan, did you say that this is literally the liquid in these little bottles you sent us is from what you did a year and a half ago?
This
Yeah.
exact bottle right here, I poured out.
Oh my gosh, that's so
thank
cool.
you.
there's a
That's
pretty long
cool.
aging process that goes with mead.
They say at least 6 months to age for mead. So I try and age as long as I can. I do a gallon batch of a mead a year. So back behind me, I think I have 2 other batches of different meads. So I have a meaderita, which is actually made with agave instead of honey. And it tastes just like a margarita. And then the other one is a coffee mead, which I use cold brew coffee instead of water,
Wow.
and it's really, really good.
Wow, that's cool.
That one's a favorite for me.
Yes.
All right, but
Ooh.
we'd better get back.
Yeah,
talking about
so-
the beer. We're gonna lose all of our beer listeners. So I want to talk about first of all, I want to thank you guys for participating in that little tasting survey we sent you. It was sort of it was kind of like a selfish gift where we're like, hey, here's beers. Hey, can you do this for us, by the way? But thank you all. It was super fun going through the results of the tasting. And we sort of did that in the first half of the episode, but I kind of want to start asking you guys, how did you enjoy the experience of doing that survey? So just some leading questions, Do you think concentrating sort of changed your experience drinking the beer compared to how you would normally enjoy a beer? And just yeah, kind of like how did you interpret the survey? Did the flavor and aroma descriptors make sense? Did you feel like thinking about it kind of changed the way you tasted the beer? Just sort of, yeah, give us your impressions of that experience.
Hmm. I like to smell whatever I'm drinking, whether it's some kind of wine or cocktail or beer. And I love the smells of these, especially, can I say their names?
Oh yeah, we've gone through it, so you can say the names.
Okay. Goron Spice Ale and then Cocoa Specialty. I like the Goron Spice. It smelled citrusy to me. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was the intention, but for some reason it smelled like I got oranges, and then Cocoa Specialty, it smelled like a bakery, like some kind of pastry.
I know who said pastry now.
I know who said citrus.
Oh,
Yeah.
oops.
No, we actually, yeah, we talked about that going over the data, and I totally get when I sniff Ryan's the Goron Spice Ale, I get peppers mostly. I get that like poblano serrano, but when I taste it in like the hop flavor and in the finish, I totally get the citrus. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely the hops I chose
Yeah.
in there.
Now, Celeste, I know you said you're not a big beer drinker. Did you find that like concentrating so hard on them, did it like improve your experience drinking beer, or did it make it worse?
I love sugar. I just love sweet drinks. I don't drink very often, so I'm really not a connoisseur. If someone would say, what kind of wine would you recommend with this meal? I think white goes with seafood, and I think red goes with meat. I don't know, but beer, a lot of people down, I'm sure it's ubiquitous across the world, but after people cut the grass, they like to drink beer. Usually they like
or
to
Wall.
drink like a Bud Light or something. They find those more refreshing. But these, I don't know if refreshing is the right word. They're more indulgent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree
No,
with
I
that,
agree with that. Yeah.
I would agree completely. I as I was tasting them, I also had my girlfriend smell them and taste them a little bit, and she was like, "Oh, these are portraits. This isn't even necessarily the kind of beer you drink at a picnic. These are like." But she said, portraits as far as like also my girlfriend doesn't know what a Goron is. And so when I described what Gorons are and where they live and what their lifestyle's like and what a Goron Spice could be, without hesitation, she was like, "Oh yeah, I feel all of that from this Goron Spice, Spice beer. It was very cool." So I smelled first and did a little bit of tasting. Then I went into the quiz, which had a little bit more focus. But what I really liked about the quiz the most is that actually I really appreciated that the two of you didn't put your descriptors or your intentions until the end, which means it didn't sway. And then I was almost able to kind of see like, oh, did I line up with what they were saying? There was one moment where I was trying to figure out like, oh, there's some kind of spice in Ryan's, the Goron Spice one.
We saw the video actually.
Yeah.
I sent you guys a little behind the scenes video. And I thought I was like, it's not cinnamon, but there's heat there. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? It's some kind of spice later. Then I realized in your descriptor that literally you had peppers in there, peppers and like a little bit of vodka. It was so cool to learn that after the fact. And I was like, then when I tasted it, I was like, oh, of course, this is like a hot beer. This is great.
Shane?
So, I like that you had the instructions on, the pouring, of course, and it basically it just slows you down to kind of appreciate the beer. And normally when, from Wisconsin, you just, oh, there's a beer, slam it.
That's Michigan too. Don't
Amen.
worry.
Sometimes you don't appreciate what you're drinking. And I think the step-by-step kind of slowed it down for me. My wife also tried it, smelled it. And for the Goron Spice Ale, like I immediately expected, some kind of spice or hot, but it was almost like you had two waves. You had the wave of like a citrus, almost piney taste, and then it was kind of a dry lull, and then it kind of went up to this spice, and it wasn't hot where I had to like spit it out or anything. It was good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I feel like that's a good sipping beer, and it's good for cold days. As for Coco's Specialty, I had whole different idea of what that would have been. And judging on the flowers on front, I'm like, oh, it's got to be honey based. You know, you smell it, it smells like honey. But I think I put in your survey, Mike, I tasted like watermelon. Like for some reason at the beginning, I tasted like a watermelon taste. And then it then became like this sweet honey, and almost spritzer like, or I want to say like a like a flavored water type taste to it, but still was refreshing. And I feel that's a good summer beer. Or I get home from work and I pop 2 or 3 of those and I'll be good. So I like that one as well. And
I interpret that as
my wife really liked that one, by the way. So
good. Yeah, I interpret that as a big compliment. That was kind of one of the main things I was aiming for, was like way more crushable than it looks based on the color.
Yes.
And the watermelon thing is funny because, so in the first half of the episode, we reviewed your survey data, and I went in blind. At least Ryan cheated and looked early, but like I hadn't seen the survey data, and I was like, watermelon, what? And then I thought watermelon, and we both tasted the beer, and we both like can totally see it. Yeah, like
watermelon water, like you bought like watermelon.
Yeah,
juice
exactly. Not like you're
like
biting into one, but just like a subtle, like that.
Propel water,
It's something about the way all the different flavors and that recipe. So I know you all you got the sort of Zelda-fied version of the recipe, but basically it incorporated a large percentage of wheat into the grain bill, to bantha wheat, of course, and then Trader Joe's mesquite honey. So basically, like, in Zelda terms, it was honey made from warm saffina flowers, basically. So it wasn't like smoked on mesquite wood. It was just the bees used that flower. And I had no idea what that would. I still don't really understand what I think that added to the beer. I think it added some kind of weird complexity that I can't quite place, but somehow how everything played together, I could totally see it sort of giving this almost like watermelon-y vibe.
I feel that would sell very well in summer at an outdoor lake bar, or
Only we sold
even the axe throwing place that I go to sells all sorts of beers, and that would be I think a customer favorite. So
Well, it was nice. Mike's not on Twitter, but I was telling him when each of you guys posted the picture of you receiving everything, the responses of people being like, where can I get this? Can I buy this? I want it now. Like, I'm sorry, we're like, I can technically give away. I think the rule, at least in Michigan, is you can't brew more than 500 gallons of beer. If you did more than that, yes. If you did more than that, you're officially a brewery. So like, and when I mailed these, I am going to apologize for the federal government. When I mailed these, I told them it was olive oil because you could hear it.
I've heard that's like
bit.
the thing that people who ship beer do. Though, oh, it's maple syrup. It's grapeseed oil.
So if you tell them it's some kind of alcohol, that changes things.
I don't know, and I didn't want to
there's like some sort of extra
bump up the taxes
paperwork.
Allegedly,
probably a tax.
Yeah, allegedly we mailed these. Yes,
right. But except that actually Ryan actually ran to everyone's house and dropped them off.
Yes.
It was pretty impressive.
He did.
All right, so let's
I have one more question actually.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You
wrote
do.
I wanted to ask you guys, and this is actually I'm doing this for him because, and both of us actually, because the names and for the design. What do you guys think of the names of the beers and the bottle designs?
I would love to speak to that real quick.
Go for it.
I'm guessing I actually recorded myself tasting them initially, and I'll put that out somewhere. I don't know, but I'm guessing that, like, Mike, I know that you have a fair amount of Photoshop experience because we worked together a bit for the Brewthers-In-Law icon.
Yep.
Did you make these labels that I'm holding up right now, Coco and Goron?
Yeah, I did. So
they're
will
beautiful.
Say and again, we talked about this a bit earlier. Like I adapted art I found online, and then sort of altered it. So like the Goron had a whole arm added on, and like the spice and the backdrop, and I actually drew the cliff myself.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, we talked about it because like I grabbed the Coco's specialty, that like the backdrop art I found on Pinterest, and I am not a super social media person. I have no idea how to figure out who actually created that or credit them. But like I basically took sort of fan art that I found and kind of adapted it and altered it to fit our needs. And then on the back, what I actually did was I pulled basically someone's approximation of the Breath of the Wild menu font.
Yeah.
And basically
So
created
cool.
the back is meant to look like the Breath of the Wild menu, like you went on pause and you pulled up an item and it's giving you the description of what that item does.
I mean, on these beers, there's literally like on the Coco's one here, where you've literally reinterpreted a real recipe in the game. You've got the Tabantha wheat with the icon. You've got the bee honey, the warm safina, and their icons on here with the descriptors. So it's what was so special when I found the beers when they took them out of the box rather, that Ryan handed me. The front labels were really exciting to see, and then I flipped them around and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so there is about 6 blocks away from where I live in Chicago, there's a kind of like local small micro breweries place that sells beer. So there's a lot of cans with paper labels and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of garage breweries, I guess. And I was thinking to myself, but yet they all look very professional. And I was thinking to myself, as I pulled these out, I was so impressed because I knew that we would be tasting beers. I had no idea they were going to look so professional and so cool and so complete that the first thing I thought was, well, I thought two things. The first thing was, this is something I would absolutely see at that store down the street. That's how professional they look. It's so cool. And then secondly, the thing I thought was, when I'm done drinking these, they're going on my Zelda shelf. These are official Zelda items here. Like this is Zelda fan items. And these bottles of beer are going up on my Zelda shelf with everything else.
Yeah,
There
thank
you go.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we this is another, by time of release, we'll have released our kind of homebrew swag episode. And that's just something I get a big kick out of because I do have a bit of Photoshop experience from work. And so I make labels for all my beers.
And mine.
And
mine.
all of Ryan's.
Yeah, he
Yeah, as
does
a
all mine.
Christmas gift, I made like little label, like basically since we normally keg, I made him I make little circles to put on like the tops of growlers. And then we make these little, you don't have them up right now, but like these little menu cards. Like if you go to a restaurant, they have the little specials insert.
Nice.
I made one of those for every beer that Ryan has made, just to kind of like give them all like a little theme and a catchphrase and a little description and a picture and stuff. And I just, it's fun for me like to have something to apply that Photoshop skill to. It's kind of like another little hobby that I have that I can pull into this hobby.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
I thought it was phenomenal. And I also think the professional nature of these labels is what led people on social media to believe that they could purchase them.
I know David Lasby reached out to me and was like, I want to buy these, and also I want to do something about this as well with Zelda Dungeon. And I said, I can't help you with the first, but I can help you with the second. So
just look out for that.
Yeah. So yeah,
Zelda
Dungeon will be doing something with this as well.
Yeah,
I actually wrote down the question. So how did you come up with the name of the beers? Like,
all right. So for me, well, and this will actually play into something that we're gonna maybe cover a little bit later. Where is it on here actually?
I don't think we did.
Oh yeah, it's a little later, but like we were both looking for ways to theme this experiment, these beers we were going to make, and I think we both kind of, Ryan's is a bit more broad across the Zelda spectrum, but we both in some part went to like Breath of the Wild because it's the one game where they're like cooking ingredients.
Yes.
And so I had already had this idea that I had heard another home brewer did where he added this mesquite honey to a beer, and I was like, ooh, that sounds good. And and so where I landed on was like, I just really love, if you've played Breath of the Wild, you know that Coco is that cute little girl in Kakariko Village that does the tutorials with you and teaches you how to cook. And the last, I think there's 3 quests you can do with her. The last one is called Coco's Specialty. And I just loved the idea that if I was I had already kind of settled on playing off of Breath of the Wild ingredients and doing like sort of real world versions of those ingredients. So it just made sense that the beer would be centered around Link and Coco because she's the one that teaches you how to cook. So it made sense. I was like, if Link started a brewery with a partner, it's totally going to be Coco. So that's where my idea came from. It sort of started with that beer idea, and then I kind of backfilled. I sort of just like made a list of Zelda ideas that I could use and made a list of beers that I wanted to make that were like, I'm normally kind of a traditionalist. So I was like, what are like the more like themable ideas that I have? And then I sort of just married them up and it kind of worked out.
Yeah,
So
it worked out really
Ryan,
well.
what about you?
I've always wanted to do a like spicy beer like this. There's a brewery near us that we mentioned a lot called Dragon Mead, and they have a beer called Ring of Fire. And with that one, you actually get like a burn with it. Like they put
It's pretty spicy,
habaneros,
yeah.
jalapenos. They put a lot of spice into that. And I wanted to do one of my own. And when we were talking about doing a theme beer, it was literally the first thing that popped in my head was, that's my spicy beer, Goron Spice. Let's just go with it. It's perfect.
Yeah, it was a great combo there, Ryan, because not only do you have some of that, it's like not only is it spicy because there's literally the words Goron Spice in Zelda games, but the ingredients you put in there felt like they would come from Death Mountain,
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then I had just a second question. Well, not even a question. If you were to have a failed beer or a watered down beer, would you name it I Am Error and the Water Temple?
I would name it Dubious Food.
Dubious Food. There it is. Yes.
Oh, I Am Error works really well too.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, Ryan, you want to move on to the next?
Yeah, I'll move on to the next one. So a while ago when we first was thinking of these ideas, I did reach out on Twitter to kind of see what other ideas are out there for Zelda themed beers. And I wanted to get if you had to on the spot come up with a Zelda themed beer, what would it be?
So just a couple examples to get started. The other one I considered was doing an even darker beer. Like there's a German style called Schwarzbier, which is really dark, but like shockingly smooth and drinkable. So I was going to do that and theme it around Dark Link, and then have the tagline be, if you like lock onto Dark Link in Ocarina of Time, all Navi tells you is conquer yourself. And I was going to use that as a tagline to be like, it looks dark, conquer your fears. It's like surprisingly good. That was one idea that I had. And like Ryan, I know you had a few ideas off of Twitter. You want to share one?
I'll share one for sure. One that came out to me was it's called Impa. So it's an IPA, but it's IMPA. So going off her name.
Just like a nice pun.
Yeah, nice little pun.
Yeah.
Nice classic pun.
But yeah, can
Well,
you
both of
guys,
those.
we're putting you on the spot here, but can anyone think of any other good ideas for a Zelda themed beer?
I think for me, I would get a little clever and have it be some kind of milk stout or milk-based beer, because everybody knows that in Zelda games, the analog for beer or bars is milk and the milk bars. You always
we're going to talk about that more, don't you?
Absolutely.
some kind of restaurant or some kind of beer, essentially bar, but it's like a milk or bar,
Like
so I'd probably go that route.
Like a Moo Moo Milk Stout. That'd be kind of
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great idea. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm thinking of how in the Ordon province in Twilight Princess, they're known for their pumpkins, and pumpkin spice beer is love it or hate it, apparently.
Oh, that's actually, well, there's that. And then there's also like the lumpy pumpkin in Skyward Sword.
Yep.
That is a great idea. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Well, it's not fall. It doesn't feel
that
like fall
sounds
right
good.
now.
No, maybe if it had been the fall, one of us would have landed on that. But seeing as it's dead of
I see what
freezing-
you did there, Mike, because you have to land off of your rock.
Ah,
Whoa.
yes, I totally
Wow,
planned
Celeste.
it that way. That's right.
Shane, what do you got?
So I was thinking about I liked your spicy beer. I like the warm. I also like cold. So thinking of the Yetis from Twilight Princess, I would do something with them, something along the lines of something where they would hug. So it'd start out like a mint, and then bring it down to maybe something warmer.
Like
Interesting.
Northern Brewer House.
Yeah, Near the Verse.
Yeah,
Not
we
bad.
can maybe do something like that. Yeah. That's doable.
I did
I
actually
love that.
I did actually get quite a few.
So one thing that I really like about that idea is that you're sort of, it's not, I mean, I love a good pun
yes.
to death. I love a good pun, but I love that like it's sort of encapsulated like an experience in the game where it's like it makes you, the beer would make you feel something that like happens in game.
Yes.
Oh, but before you
Oh,
blow
good.
all your
Yeah,
other
go
Twitter ideas, did you guys have anything else? You've all given one. You've all sort of done your duty. Any other great ideas you want to throw out?
Hmm.
You got to do something with Tingle.
I was thinking
Think about
Oh
Tingle.
my gosh.
man. Yeah, that's
some
good.
kind of
You're like a-
mint green, minty.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Refreshing.
you know, Tinkle's got that big red nose. He's drinking something.
Yeah.
Oh, he's definitely
Dude,
done
he's
something.
probably drunk all the time. Drinking that milk.
It makes good maps though.
Oh, what about the cabana in Wind Waker? How that seems like a place you would chill with some
That
beer.
could work.
That's a
Do
great
you like
idea,
a fruitier beer?
or like some kind of like a sort of like a beach beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right. Any others?
What does she serve? What does Telma serve in Twilight Princess? Is it just they just
It's,
not really
I
talk
think it's
about
just a
it?
bar.
I
don't think
tried
they
to
actually
look that
up.
serve
Beer.
anything.
I don't think they make any reference to like clearly it's
Yeah.
beer, presumably, but they don't make
Assuming, yes.
they don't
They
make
just don't
any
talk about
reference
it.
to what she serves. You know what she serves? Justice.
Justice.
Okay.
All right. Well, Ryan, you want to share? Well, sure. I only have a couple, so I'll
No,
share.
go for it. You go do yours.
So I had the Schwartz beer. I already said. I also landed on the idea of doing a milk something. I thought about doing like, there's this weird beer I saw online that it's called a reverse Guinness, where like somehow the beer is like stark white and then the foam is black, and it
What?
looks like wrong. It looks like, yeah, it looks so wrong. But I was wondering, I was trying to figure out how they did the white, because I thought if I could make a white colored beer, I could call it Chateau Romani, like or just make a milk stout and call it like Lone Milk Stout or like Moo Moo Milk Stout. Yeah. So I had the,
I like
kind
Chateau
of the same
Romani.
idea as Shane. But Ryan, what other ideas did you get off of Twitter?
Let's see. Aaron Grubb, who we all know and love, he sent me one saying that he wants to do like a Hylian wheat beer with bolt fruit, like a dragon, make it like a dragon fruit beer.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
That's
yeah.
that one is good. And then who else did I have in here? I had quite a few. They had some great names. One was the Mighty Calming Elixir, which I thought was perfect because once you drink beer, you just kind of calm down.
Will you put
Yeah.
like some chamomile in that, so it just
Yep.
puts you to, or just make it like 16%, so you just go to sleep after you've had one.
And another one that really stuck out to me, I might make this later on. It's where I got the Impa. It's from Aaron again. I gave Aaron credit. It's where I got the Impa's IPA, but it's a pumpkin cream IPA. So it's got like a mix of
What does
everything
that
going in
even
there.
mean?
I don't even know, but
Well, what's it called?
he just called it Impa's IPA.
Oh, that's the Impa.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what he called the Impa's IPA, but it was going to be a pumpkin IPA
Gotcha.
with it. So
I
combining a
don't, I
few
don't know
things.
if I like that.
Yeah, I knew you wouldn't.
No. But yeah, so sort of branching off of that, like we really enjoyed the challenge of putting together these themed recipes, but it is kind of hard, like we were just talking about it, like there's a bar in Twilight Princess and none of us can even think of what they serve. Like they don't, it's something that doesn't come up in most Zelda games. Breath of the Wild is really the first to like feature cooking and ingredients and stuff, but
Mhm.
despite that challenge, we kind of enjoyed this. And this is something that our family sort of enjoys. We do a Hobbit Day every year where like all our siblings get together. And if
Oh my
you've
gosh.
seen read or watched, the Lord of the Rings, there's that famous Hobbit. Well, he's heard of first breakfast, but what about second breakfast? 11sies, luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, supper. So we do this thing every year where we watch one of the trilogies, either The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, and we make all of those meals and we kind of split them up amongst the families. And
That's
so we've done
amazing.
that.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, and like we just like really get a kick out of those sort of themed things. So first kind of sub question to that is, do any of you guys do that sort of stuff in your own lives, whether it's like some kind of themed drinks or food or like a themed gathering, you dress up for a movie franchise you really like? Do you get into anything like that?
Recently, within the last, honestly, like decade, I haven't, but I did do when we were coming up on the final Harry Potter part 2 of 8 or whatever it was. For the fun of it, we did do like a 2-day. Everyone went home at night and came back the next day, but we did a 2-day marathon where we started with the first movie. It had brunch with it, and then went into lunch and then a dinner, and then everyone left, and then we timed it out so that Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 would end just enough time for us all to go to the theater and see it. And that was the last time I did any kind of big marathon. I would personally love to do. I have mixed emotions about all the Jurassic Park sequels, every single Jurassic Park sequel, but I really, really love the first Jurassic Park movie. And I think I might try to do some kind of marathon for whatever it is, Domination or whatever it is that's coming out.
Oh,
The
that'd be
That'd be
sixth
fun.
one. I don't know. How about Shane or Celeste?
When the last Twilight book was coming out, Breaking Dawn, I dressed up like a vampire and
You sparkled?
I went to get
Mhm.
the book at a local bookstore. And I was the
And
only
Celeste,
one
it wasn't
dressed
even a
like vampire.
Tuesday. I'm just joking.
Wait, sorry, I missed that. You were the
I
only
was
one. What?
I
Oh,
was the only one dressed like a vampire.
You were the only one that went big. That's more of a judgment on everybody else than it is on you.
Exactly. Yes.
That's
Shane?
awesome. Yeah, Shane.
So I've done in the past Turtles, all the Turtles movies, just watch them
Okay.
back.
Nice.
But not, it wouldn't be consecutively, but not, in a row. Before I even started dating my wife, Erin, we actually went to the Iron Man movie with our Toys R Us group. And I've seen every Marvel movie in theater day of with her.
Wow.
Aw.
Nice.
awesome.
That's
That
quite
is a
of
feat.
yeah, because there are a lot of them.
Yeah, I know.
So it sounds like though, like you guys kind of all made references to either books or movie marathons. I know like Celeste mentioned dressing up, but it sounds like none of y'all have like really incorporated cuisine or drinks into any of this. Is that right?
When we did that Harry Potter thing, we had mimosas and whatnot and slightly themed things. People would bring potluck style things that were mildly themed, but it wasn't too crazy. I love theme parties. I think they're really, really fun,
Mhm.
but I just haven't had any recently.
Yeah.
I have not done it myself, but I did buy that Legends cookbook. And so far I've made the meat stew. And there are all of these recipes influenced by different things in the Zelda series. And I want to make
cool.
more.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, they have.
All right, guys. So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to do a marathon playthrough of all the Zelda games. We'll start with Skyward Sword. It's going to
I'm
last
sold.
3
Done.
weeks.
You had me at Zelda.
I love it.
Themed meals every day.
Well, can
Yeah.
you tell my boss I'll be out? Like, hey, I have something
Yeah.
really
That's
important. to
perfect.
We-
handle.
Yeah,
we have a really
we could
important
actually
marathon.
have this line up with my paternity leave, that would be great. But so I think y'all like kind of hit on an interesting point, which is that it can often be hard to, and Ryan and I think struggled with this on this particular challenge where it can be hard to sometimes like theme cuisine around franchises that aren't built around it. You
Yeah.
know, like we've talked about doing a similar thing to our Hobbit Day, but like for Star Wars, but it's like the only thing we really have to go off of is that in the cantina scene, there's those like weird glowing drinks they're drinking. It's like, who knows what they taste like? They don't talk about what they're eating. It can be kind of challenging to
Yeah.
sort of figure
Mhm.
out like that. I think is why we both eventually glommed onto Breath of the Wild, is because it's the one Zelda game that really interfaces with consumables like in
Yes.
any meaningful way aside from just consuming the souls of fairies
Yes.
to regain your health or potions.
Yeah.
My wife makes tons of food for every holiday. That she's always themed with that, not necessarily around a movie or book, but holidays. And every February 29th for leap year, we do the leap year, or was it Leap Day Williams party? I don't know if you guys watch 30 Rock, but
No, I did not.
yellow
Sorry.
and
That's
blue
cool.
as the colors. So both of us went to high school that both have those same colors, blue and gold. So that kind of like tied into the theme, and we have that every 4 years. And I think
Nice.
rhubarb is the official food for that. So we have to make rhubarb food, and it can be hard. Someone made a rhubarb like a smoothie, and it was all right, but it was very tart.
You need to mix it with that's like strawberries or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fun idea, though.
Yeah, it is fun. I like that. I do have a cookbook for Star Wars now, so we might be
Do
able
you?
to do something. Oh yeah,
But that's the thing. Yeah, I don't know.
it's
just
from
like-
actually from the theme park they have down in Disney.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
Ryan, I saw that exact same cookbook and I almost purchased it too. It's kind of on my like personal wish list or whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Well,
looked through a couple things.
Take
It looks
note,
good.
people close enough to Dave to buy him Christmas presents.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just an interesting thing. Yeah, it's like you have to think outside the box sometimes when you are theming for a franchise that doesn't lend itself to food, basically. So I think at this point, we're going to sort of make a transition from sort of talking about the beer that we did into some sort of drink focused, but ultimately this is like some Zelda lore. And I want to start with possibly the most important question that anyone has ever asked
We did allude to this already.
in the Legend of Zelda. So we've talked about milk a couple of times. It is a recurring item. In Majora's Mask specifically, there is a milk bar, and one of the patrons at the bar is swaying a little bit, like he's maybe in his cups, like he's had a few too many. So I wanted to ask you guys, as the resident Zelda experts here, canonically, and this is an official interpretation here, does milk from the milk bar give you a buzz? Does it make you drunk? Or is he just, on a sugar
Lightweights.
high or
He's on a
something?
light- he's
Is
super
he on a
lightweight.
sugar high?
You
Yeah.
know,
Does milk make
it-
you drunk canonically?
There are in Phantom Hourglass, there's also a character in a bar that's probably had a bit too much, and I think Wind Waker even has a little bit of implications of that. But I would say that okay, it depends on how we want to interpret this, but it's intuitively obvious that the milk makes you feel it's a special thing and makes you feel special. I think if we were to speak about, maybe Celeste or Shane, you'd be interested in talking a little bit about the Romani Ranch storyline that happens with milk and the sisters drinking it when they think the world is ending. So I think that, this concept that maybe it would relax you or alter your perception a bit, I think is supported a touch.
I do too, because as David was alluding to, the moon's about to crash, and Crimea wants to give her little sister some Chateau Romani because she is telling her sister, I believe you're of age now. You've proven yourself to be mature. But she wants to do it to numb her senses so that
Those
she
are
won't
aliens.
feel.
I mean, you just found off
You
You
aliens.
don't
Well,
deserve milk
there-
after that.
Romani Ranch does have an alien situation, but actually at the end of the third day, when the whole world is about to end and the moon is about to crash down, that's when she decides that her sister, who is canonically too young to drink the milk,
Mhm.
she says,
Oh, I
you know
did not know
what, you
that.
are old enough to
Yeah.
drink it.
I did not know
But,
that.
but
part.
that only happens if she has saved them from the aliens,
Yeah,
right?
That's true. That's true.
Yes, because otherwise she's kind of loopy. She's kind of out of
Yeah,
it because
she's
there's
gone.
she might have had a lobotomy somewhere.
Yeah.
The aliens got it.
Dude, yeah, that's one of those like shockingly like really like hits you in the heart storylines in Majora's
It
Mask
is.
is
Yes.
those two sisters.
Mhm.
Yes.
Always
And
really
to
get
that-
in the feels.
if
To the
you
point
let
of the inebriation, though, there's never a moment where like Link drinks milk and things get foggy. They never have anything like that.
no,
No,
they just feel
no.
him.
The only thing I can think of is you regain hearts when you drink the moo milk in Ocarina
That's
of
true.
Time. Traditionally, having brandy or vodka or something is in small doses is medicinal. So could it be medicinal purposes, and then you don't just drink a ton of it and it doesn't affect you, but it may restore some health or give you some kind of health
I
benefit.
can buy that.
I could buy that.
I
Yeah.
think there's a perception alteration. Yes, for sure.
Sounds like we're landing on yes. It gives you some kind of a buzz. Is it an alcohol buzz? Who knows? Maybe they put pot in the milk, but there's something.
Mhm. Regardless, that
Different
guy
kind
in
of-
Majora's Mask has had way too much of it.
Right, whatever it is, yeah, that dude, the one of the three brothers, yeah, he needs to lay off.
He needs to
and
consider his choices.
he needs to go and sleep. Yeah, have a big long sleep and drink a tall glass of water.
Hey, the moon's coming down. You get a drink, okay?
Right, yeah, fair.
Okay, so both of us use cookie mechanism in the Breath of the Wild as our inspiration for our beers. The cookie mechanic. I've had a couple. In Breath of the Wild,
You've had too much milk,
I've
Ryan.
had too much milk. You're cut off. But the process is fairly simple and immediate. Would you like to see this expanded in the future Zelda games?
Cooking?
Yes.
The cooking mechanic. Yeah.
No, God, no. I skipped through it.
Oh
See,
no.
I'm with Celeste. I am so with Celeste. I cooked it. I didn't care what I was making as long as it gave me hearts. I'm done.
Like you're wondering, do people want to see him? Let me add some broth. Let me add the meat.
Yeah, you get a little salt bay in there.
Well,
Yeah.
not necessarily do you want it to take longer, but like, the whole idea of like preparing yourself food or potions to sort of bolster your strength. That's like a fairly common RPG
okay.
mechanic, right?
Okay.
But in Breath of the Wild, it's fairly simple, right? Like you land on a couple recipes, like one for stamina, one for speed, one for stealth, whatever. And there's kind of like a best version of all of those. So would you be interested in them expanding that out to have more nuance, or it sounds like maybe that's just not something that was interesting to you in Breath of the Wild?
I think I can speak to that a little bit. For starters, my experience with cooking in Breath of the Wild was I did it. I got the spicy peppers or whatever because you put 5 in there, which is a really weird way to teach cooking because you're not really cooking anything. You're just doing all the same ingredient.
Right.
But I digress. So I did cook a little bit when I met Coco, and I started to cook a few things for hearts and all of that. But
You better
once, I don't know, 20 hours in, once I discovered the Mighty Banana recipe, which is really just 5 Mighty Bananas, and it gives you 12 minutes of like +3 attack or something like that. I never cooked anything else ever again. I just cooked Mighty Bananas, Mighty Bananas, Mighty Bananas, Mighty Bananas, and then eventually some Mighty Durians or whatever. But Mighty Bananas, Mighty Bananas, Mighty Bananas. Okay, fine.
It does sound the troubling impression that you can just like throw 18 bananas in a pan and it will taste good.
Yes.
Yeah, the logic of like, okay, 5 units of this ingredient makes the ultra version of that ingredient. That doesn't work for me, because if you just take 5 potatoes and put them in a pot in real life, they're going to taste like potatoes. You have to put in the salt and the whatever and the spices and the other things and the egg and the whatever to make it better than what it is. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say that what I'd like to see more of in a Breath of the Wild sequel, when it comes to maybe an expanded cooking situation, is we've seen some shots in trailers of it's possible to interpret that Link and or Zelda will be at certain times in the game traveling with like essentially a mule, an animal that can carry things with them. So I think there could be, I'm hoping there's some kind of, I'll just say camping mechanic, or like where you're bringing your supplies with you mechanic. So if they were to expand on the cooking, I don't mind the current state of the cooking, except for that kind of exploit of just all the same ingredients. But I think it would be kind of neat if they don't have to change the system, but this new element of you can only carry so much with you. Do you really want to carry 90 Mighty Bananas, or is it important to carry some salt and some wheat and some other things? That could be interesting. You know what I mean?
So taking out the Skyrim aspect where you can just carry everything.
Billion of everything.
And kind of Resident Evil it a little bit.
I like having all these things.
I know, or maybe there's, I don't know. That doesn't. You're right, because honestly, Zelda logic is you can carry everything always. But that's the best I can come up with for now.
I think your point is really well taken, though, where it's like basically refocusing it to feel like real cooking, where it's not like throwing 12 of the same mushroom at a recipe, but rather it's like you'll get better results by mixing things intelligently rather than just like throwing 6 hearty durians at your pot.
My take on that, what if you do add more ingredients, and you can do different things, more elaborate, but what if you don't, like to Celeste's point, to Ryan's point, that they don't really like to cook that much? What if you've cooked it once, or you discovered something you've cooked, you've got your own recipe now? What if from your tablet, you are able to order the food from some kind of delivery service, like the mailman comes and gives you food that you ordered, so you can
DoorDash.
Beetle
Zelda.
comes by and his little
Beetle
flying
com-
airship
Beetle
and
comes
drops
by.
you down.
something
Little
like that,
Amazon
or
drone.
have some guy
Oh.
in an air balloon, maybe Beetle or something drops. You can order food,
Oh, that would be
order
cute.
different
Like
stuff
the,
like that at
there's a
at
there's
certain
a,
locations. Or
yeah,
You
there's
just
like a
offered DoorDash into the Legend of Zelda. There we go. We're
I
done.
love it. Yeah. That would actually be
call it
really fun. I could
Pegasus
see them
Beach or
really
something.
like making that work in the world and be
Yes.
adorable. So did y'all have anything else you wanted to say about this?
I like cooking in real life, but whenever I'm adventuring, I kind of just want to adventure
Yeah,
around.
that's a great point. So I'm going to say something in direct contrast to that. Which is like so I sort of I agree. Like I enjoyed the cooking mechanic in Breath of the Wild. I used it as an exploit. You know, I found my 3 most useful recipes and did them to death. And really sitting there making 17 of the same recipe over and over again wasn't fun, but it was sort of part of my workflow, right? So, but there's kind of a whole genre of games built around stuff like that, you know, that's kind of colloquially referred to as cozy games, things like farm sims and stuff.
Mm.
So I particularly, my wife and I love Stardew Valley. If you've not played it, it's kind of a spiritual successor to Harvest Moon, and
Yeah.
Ryan hates them
I
all.
hate Harvest Moon.
But
Oh, can't
they have
stand
this
it.
whole infrastructure where like you can not only grow stuff in Stardew Valley, but then you can like grow coffee beans and grain and hops and stuff, and then you can basically use these, you know, pickling jars and stuff to like you can turn your vegetables into pickled vegetables. You can turn your coffee beans into coffee. You can make beer from your hops and your wheat. And then you can even take it a step further where you can age them in oak barrels, which like
Whoa.
improves their value. And obviously it's very, very different from something like Zelda, where in Zelda you're cooking to get upgraded statistics. In this game, it's all about capitalism, baby. You're trying to make that money. But it's an interesting idea that like basically you could take an item, you know, say, to put it in Zelda terms, you could take like a red potion or something, and you could age it in an oak barrel, and you can't touch that for 20 minutes of game time. And then you came back, and all of a sudden it was 10 times as potent as it used to be. And that's sort of how it works in Stardew Valley. And I think that when you look at kind of like the whole Terry town, where you're building up a town from the ground up slowly, and in the whole like in Breath of the Wild, you can also buy a house and you can kind of deck that house out. They've got these sort of optional cozy game elements that they sort of seem to be kind of feeling out if people wanted that. Would you all be interested in seeing something like that sort of bleed over into the sort of preparation of like recipes, where there was a bit more of that kind of, you know, kind of the time-based, like sort of cozy gaming sort of mechanics?
You know,
I
I think
could
the
see
quick.
it.
Oh, sorry. Go for it, Celeste. Go for it.
Oh, well, since you get your own house in Breath of the Wild, like in Hatino Village, I think it'd be cool to have your own little garden, your own little stable, your pets.
Well, nothing to do with that.
But it's optional.
Well, it would be optional. Yes, it would be optional.
Yes, I'm okay with it being optional, but like I have no desire. Harvest Moon and all
See-
those games, I just can't do.
Quiet, Ryan. Celeste, I love that idea. I think that's beautiful.
I just feel like you need to make the house more useful. I don't know, you got that house there, you can hang up your shields and your swords and stuff. Why not make it useful? And
could go
why
on
not
his
be able to
computer.
buy different houses around you know, the Hyrule area? You could purchase something in Terrytown, or you can buy something, you know, in Rito Village or something, and you can.
You know, that's a good point, Shane. I can't help but think about the first Fable that came out for Xbox. You could buy houses in towns, and if you didn't want to live in them, you could become the landlord and rent them, and then they would give you money back.
I
And
didn't
in
know
fact,
Ryan did
I never
that.
played Fable.
yeah, in that first Fable game,
You'd have been
if
bored.
you
Yeah, whatever.
in the first Fable game, if you even then bought new furniture for those houses and then rented them out, you would get more rent back because they were nicer. I love that. And
Pre-furnished.
it's only
You gotta pay more for pre-furnished, right?
it's true. And it was just one step past. I think I agree with you, Shane. I feel like the house in Breath of the Wild's a bit
I
a bit
feel like,
undercooked,
we're gonna
underdeveloped.
get some new episodes or articles out of this. So I have some ideas brewing already.
Nice pun.
It would be nice. Yeah, I could easily see at least a couple buildings that might be vacant that could be purchased and sold. And maybe there's
Yeah.
the same way to do that with items. Maybe you could cook, brew, ferment items that would then could be sold at the different horse stables or the different like at the shops.
No,
Because right now you can sell things for money or buy things. But what if you could offer items to then be sold anyway?
so
Yeah.
playing off that, why not be able to build your own village and almost RPG style where you can you'll find people across Hyrule and say, hey, almost like Terry Town, come to this town. Hey, I do blacksmith stuff. You want to come to my town and start improving my shields, improving my swords, my armor. And then, you start building off of that. You got, maybe a windmill and it grinds your grains if you find a horse that can, go around or.
Yeah, it sounded like you're going Skyrim like almost like
Yeah.
there with all the different things you can do within
And that's-
Skyrim.
But I mean, Breath
Basically,
of the Wild
that's what
kind
we
of was a big
based on.
step towards Skyrim.
Yeah.
For
They said
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild was like, I think I remember hearing this, that they were saying
Better
they
than
played a lot
Skyrim.
of Breath of the Wild, or they played a lot of
Skyrim.
Skyrim to lead to
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
And this
Uh,
one,
Ryan,
playing
you're
Red Dead
absolutely right.
2.
And then ultimately, Link takes the grains off his grain mill. He goes on his computer. He gets on Beersmith. He writes a recipe,
There you go.
and he
Mhm.
brews
Mhm.
some
There we
ale.
go. And
There you
order.
go.
And
Done.
it's all come back full circle. We're
And
back
then he
talking
orders it
about
and it gets delivered. And then he sits down on the couch
You mean
and
milk, right?
Netflix and chills.
milk. Yeah, sorry.
Netflix.
alt milk.
There you go. Alt milk.
Or an alt milk, or
Chew jelly and
Goron
toast.
spice milk.
Yeah. So my last question, it's a kind of a two-parter.
Sort of branching off of this, I think Celeste is going to want the opposite of what I was just talking about, but go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, go for it. So with it being the anniversary, and I know we didn't get a whole lot, at least at
So
time
far,
of
so
recording.
far.
So far, at time of recording. So when this probably comes out, we'll probably have a little bit more.
The last
hopefully.
direct was a big,
Um,
yeah, don't get your expectations up.
so the two things that are coming up right now, you have obviously Breath of the Wild 2. But we also got the news of Skyward Sword. So I
Or are you
wanted
doing
to
a two-parter?
we're doing a two-parter. So what are your what do you want to see most, and what are you happy about, at least with Skyward Sword, with those two games coming out? Because I know David, and we talked about
Wait,
this.
what's this?
Skyward Sword, you hate the mechanic of this.
Amen, brother. No one can see, but he's swinging his stupid Wiimote
I
around.
Yes.
have
And
said
Link's not doing what he wants.
Yes.
I've said this on another Zelda podcast before, but to repeat myself quickly on Breath of the Wild here, I was very excited about Breath of the Wild coming out. I was very excited about one-to-one motion controls.
Mhm,
I did play Twilight Princess on the GameCube. I didn't play it on the Wii with the motion controls,
mhm.
but I thought, if they can actually one-to-one match my swinging, that'll be fun. I can't wait. And I got Skyward Sword, and I liked Skyward Sword. And honestly, after about 20 hours of gameplay, I was like, I really just wish I could have that GameCube controller. And here's the thing. For the most part, in the real world, I'm usually kind of pro. I've said this before. I'm pro get off the couch, you lazy bum, and do a cool moving thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, fine. If you're gonna, do the ring fit, do your stuff, that's all cool. But at the end of the day, so I'm not a hater of motion controls, but at the end of the day, though, they just didn't come together enough for me,
Mhm.
and I felt like I wasn't able to fully appreciate Skyward Sword. I've since gone back to Skyward Sword. I've got it on my Wii U emulator on the Wii U. I've got it on the the Wii emulator or whatever, and I play it, and it's like, why? I just want to control you, Link. I just want to move you. And so I am tremendously excited about playing with a Switch controller on the Switch.
That is absolutely where I'm at, because I want to love that game, but the motion controls just make it's like the only thing since I was 16 that makes me want to pitch a controller across the room. It's infuriating. It just does not do what you want it to,
Yeah.
do. And like to be able to play on a controller, or just the gyro controls on the Switch are just so much better. So I think even motion controls on the Switch will be a huge improvement. I would
Well, Actually, Mike, that's a really good point. Even in Breath of the Wild, they finally figured out how to use gyro controls in a controlled and measured way. Like you
Yeah.
just use it for a few seconds to course correct what you've done on the analog
To
sticks with
fine
your bow and
tune your
arrow.
aim.
Yeah,
I know.
that's the way it should be done.
I want every shooter ever to be remade using Breath of the Wild's
Every
aiming
first
mechanic.
person
Yeah.
shooter, yes.
Like literally, like everyone that's ever been released should be.
I mean, even
re-released.
playing Ocarina of Time 3D on the 3DS,
Yes,
it's
I've done
nice
that,
to
actually,
have,
yes.
you know, you aim, but you still tweak a little bit with those motion controls. That's exactly how motion controls should work.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Celeste, go next.
I'm very excited for the chance to play Skyward Sword without the motion controls, because during that pirate fight in Skyward Sword in the desert,
the worst.
Oh, yes.
It's
so
the
hard.
motion
Yeah,
controls
hard.
were not ideal for that fight.
No.
Now it is cool to fly on your loft wing and sword fight, but when you're trying to get very accurate movements, and for some reason, what was it like? It wasn't syncing all the time with the little bar.
Well, you know what it is? It's that stab forward move that I think you have to do with the
Yeah.
that pirate a
When
lot. That
the-
one's rough.
The Skyward
The
Yes,
Sword.
recharge.
the demise fight, I had to get someone else to do it for me. I was
Yeah.
not bad at it.
Yeah. All right, Shane.
I'm excited for other people to play this. Not necessarily myself. I'm fine that it's coming out. The reason being, I played it on the Wii. You know, I got to the ancient cistern. I moved, and when I, set it back up a month later, my save file was gone.
Oh,
So I waited a couple months and I played it again, and I don't like the trials with the tiers. I
Mallory
they
hates
suck.
those. Yeah, Mallory hates those too.
really, really do not like trying to take out the BMOS because you're trying to stab it in the eye. You gotta cut it down at the right angle, and then you gotta drop it 2 times, and then you gotta stab it or throw a bomb to get the smoke in the eye. That part was difficult for me, and that I think was also in the area with the sand area. So
Yeah.
I did not enjoy that, though I would go vacation at the Lumpy Pumpkin. So
That actually brings me into, this is sort of a bonus. We've been digging deep into Zelda for a while. I want to bring it back around to beer. So to close out, Breath of the Wild 2 comes out. There is a bar that you can go to where Link and Zelda can just sit and unwind. They can hook up their ox in the in the courtyard,
Mhm.
and they can go and have a nice beer. What is that bar called? Shane, go.
Oof.
oh, me first.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to
That's
be you
tough.
first. I'm sorry. I'm being
Well, I
rude.
said, what would you name it?
I don't know. I said Shane. Shane has to go first.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
I would no, here I would
don't
call
know.
it the Triforce of Courage, because after a couple beers, you got enough courage
Okay.
to go talk to
Liquid
someone.
Nice.
courage,
I like
wisdom, because you
yeah.
get smarter as you drink.
No,
It's
I don't know what you're talking about. I get dumber when I
So
drink.
I
probably
do think
call it
we're
the
missing
elixir of
the
knowledge.
obvious point that there is a bar in Gerudo Town that serves like definitely alcohol called that Noble Pursuit. You can
Oh,
get
you're
in
right.
the-
You're right.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
like-
yeah.
Definitely alcohol. But we'll say aside from that,
Smoothies.
because who really knows what's going on in the second one. I would say it is going to serve all because of the sort of medieval vibe, it's going to serve kind of like vaguely English beer,
Mhm.
and it's just going to be called like the high roll,
Yield.
ye old high roll pub. Yeah, something real simple. It's probably based in like Hateno Village or something,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just called high roll pub. Simple,
Think about-
unassuming. It serves brown beer, and
I think about
and-
some of the corner bars that I experienced when I was living in Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, the joke of having a little bar on every corner is absolutely true, and it's also charming in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's the fact. And when I would hang out with friends and we would just look for this experience you're speaking about, where Zelda and Link would go and just chill and just hang out and take a load off. Usually that's done at those weird little corner bars that have a nice they just have a nice warm feeling to them, and they're usually just named after like a person or something in the area. Sometimes it's just that, and so I feel like I can't speak to exactly what the name would be, but it would probably just be some charming character
Tingle's
in one
Bar.
of the towns.
Tingle's Bar.
Maybe it's Tingle's. Maybe you know what? Actually, wait, no, because Tingle would have like a club or something. It'd be like Tingle's Club.
He would.
You just gotta get down.
He would just be dancing.
It'd be 2
You'd be
stories.
the only one there.
It would cost like $1,000 cover to get in.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
You can get a map dance.
That's how you get your map. You have to do a dance off with them.
Map. That's the best fun of the day.
I would call it like liquor lounge or something like
Oh,
that.
that's not bad.
I like
good.
that.
That's
I
good.
like
That's
that.
good.
I actually like the idea that like Link would probably, he might not even be a beer guy. Maybe he likes gin. Who knows?
I can see him
Who
being a
knows?
guy.
So I'm a big fan of Cheers. That is my dream kind of bar. There is a place in my area.
Where everybody knows your name.
I hope not. God, I hope not.
Nicely done.
I usually want to go and not see people I know whenever I go out. But no,
Then you do not want a Cheers bar.
Right.
Hold on. I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
missed
this is
I like the
confusing. Mixed
factor of the
messages here.
Cheers bar.
I like
I
the
know.
aesthetic. I like the way
Okay.
it looks. I like
Okay.
it looks very nice. There's a restaurant connected to it upstairs. Oh, Princess Zelda, I mean, she's royalty. Do you think that she would be for simpler taste, or you think she'd kind of want something?
Okay, wait, Celeste, here it is. Based on what you're saying, it's a basement or garden level bar, but it's in Castletown.
Yeah.
There it is.
You
And
know what I
like,
mean?
You can get a simple
Maybe-
beer, but you can also get a nice glass of
Yeah.
wine.
Right,
Ooh.
and maybe there's
Well-
a small side courtyard and all that kind of
The
stuff. It's one of
Silent
those.
Princess,
Oh my
Ooh,
God.
that is
That's
bad.
it. That's
Not
it.
bad.
That's the name.
because
That's
it's
perfect.
a
Okay.
secret
We're-
bar.
We are going to end on that. It's
And
going
it's
to
a
be called.
speakeasy.
It's going to be called the Silent Princess, and it's a speakeasy. Okay, that's going to bring us to our outro because that's perfect.
Yes.
So, if you want to find our podcast, you can find us at Brewthers-In-Law on Twitter. It's all one word, or brewthers-in-law.com. Ryan, there are a few other places online where people can find you
Because
so
you're not anywhere else.
Go ahead.
I am on Twitter at Rambo Kuhn. Anything brewing related. I am also on Twitter with at Wise Old Owls Brew. And I also do a little blog here and there whenever I get a chance to. I haven't done one in a while actually. It's called hotbrewandblog.com.
Right. And then just want to thank you guys again for being on, David, Celeste, and Shane. This was a ton of fun. I think we kind of got into the weeds in a good way. Hopefully everybody thinks it was in a good
Well,
way.
hold on. Let them plug in their stuff.
Do you guys want to just sort of let listeners know if they're interested in the podcast or if they want to connect to you personally? Where can they find you?
Well, I tell you what, if they're interested in the show, they can find us on Twitter at Another Zelda Pod, and we're on Instagram at Another Zelda Podcast. On Twitter, personally, I'm Raptor Paint, and why don't we go around, Shane and Celeste? You can talk about whatever you like.
I am at Still Saying Shane on Twitter, and you can follow again at Another Zelda Podcast to read our articles and listen to our podcasts.
I am Fairy Crypt on Twitter, and I would love to see your pets. I would love to see your food. I would love to
She's
see
very
your
specific on what she wants to
Zelda
see.
thing.
I want to see your pets.
Right.
Send me your
Yeah.
pets.
Can I repeat pets? Right.
All right, guys. So we generally finish this off with a quick cheers. So I don't know how well we can cheers, but
A cheers across the
Cheers
USA.
across.
It was great having you guys on.
Yes.
It's been a good first season. Cheers.
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 Come by.